Hey viewers, welcome back to the channel where we break down the headlines that matter and uncover the real stories behind the news. Today we are diving into a powerful and deeply emotional story that is making waves across the country. They voted for Trump and now their son is in ICE detention, a legal green card holder from Argentina, now locked inside South Georgia notorious Stewart Detention Center, a facility long criticized for its harsh conditions. The twist: his own family's staunch Trump supporters now find themselves at the center of a heartbreaking immigration demeanor. What happened? Why is a legal resident being detained? And how are the family's political beliefs now being tested in ways they never imagined? Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get into the facts, the fallout, the bigger picture behind this shocking turn of events. Let's get into it.
Did you see this video where this couple, originally from Argentina, who voted for Trump, are upset that their son, who's a green card holder, is currently being detained by ICE?
Un incidente que terminó siendo un misdemeanor. Cumplió con todos los requisitos al pie de la letra, entonces se terminó el caso, se cerró, lo detuvieron en el aeropuerto de Ley, lo mandaron a un county jail en North Carolina por 3 días y luego lo movieron aquí a donde estamos ahora.
Él dijo que iba a ir por todos los delincuentes que entraron ilegal.
Y lo dijo muy claro.
Lo dijo bien claro.
Pero pasamos de tener una puerta abierta completamente a cerrarla con 10 rojos.
Es un engaño masivo lo que hizo. Es un mentiroso. Está mucha gente enojada. Y no solo inmigrantes. Gente que vive aquí, que tiene generaciones y generaciones de estar en este país.
And the family said that it's very possible that it could end with Agustin being deported.
So here's a little more background on their son, Augustine. He was convicted in 2020 of infliction of injury and he was sentenced to 3 years probation. Now, that case was closed in 2023. Well, in February, Augustine was coming back from a trip abroad through Los Angeles International Airport where he was stopped by DHS. There, they confiscated his green card and Argentine passport and told him to report to Border Patrol in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where he lives. He did report to the office, apparently on his own. There's no word of whether or not there was a lawyer with him. He was detained, and within 2 days, he was transferred to Stewart. This is a Stewart Detention Center, which can roughly hold about 1,700 people. And according to Augustine, when he talked to his parents, it is overcrowded in there. People are sleeping on the floor, and they're not getting the basic necessities. Now, what is happening to their son and to everyone under this administration is terrible. But this is frustrating because Latinos for Trump really thought they were going to be safe from his mass deportations. Now that Trump has come after your family, now you realize that he was a liar. Trump has always been a liar. We knew he was going to go after immigrants, specifically Latinos, regardless if they're criminals or not. I do wish more Latinos will wake up to the fact that Trump is a liar, but unfortunately, it seems like with these Trump supporters, they do not believe anything until it personally affects them. So if this happens to come across your FYP page and you happen to be a Trump supporter, just know that something like this is in your future. You are not safe from him. He does not care about anybody but himself. And remember, to keep up with stories like these, sign up for my newsletter, check out my podcast or one of my other social media channels, link in bio.
FAFO. These people are in their find out season. They really thought that they were special for some strange reason. These people voted for Trump and now their son is in ICE detention. Their son was a green card holder from Argentina and now he's in ICE detention. Deborah Ray and her husband, Martin Verde, like Trump's get tough on undocumented immigrants stance. But they didn't think he would go after legal immigrants like their son because obviously they care. These people, like I said, a lot of these people really think that they are white adjacent. That's the reason why I call them spicy mayo. They really thought that they were going to get the benefits because they had a piece of paper. These people don't care. You're still brown. This article is behind a paywall. That's okay. Other outlets are reporting on it. I just wanted y'all to see this couple. Newsweek put out the article as well, but Trump was on the front. It says, Trump voting parents feel betrayed after ICE agents detain their son. Argentine-American couple Martin Verde and Deborah Ray told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution they felt let down by the administration after their son, Augustine Gentile, 31, a green card holder, was sent to Stewart Detention Center in South Georgia. With roughly 1,700 detainees, the center is the country's second largest immigrant jail. Newsweek reached out to the Department of Homeland Security and Core Civic, the company that operated Stewart Detention Center, for comment. Why it matters. Trump has made immigration a key priority of his second administration. He has vowed to crack down on border security, carry out mass deportations, and end federal benefits for people entering the country. His administration is also targeting people with green cards, despite the fact that green cards equate to lawful permanent residency. In April, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services posted on X that a green card holder's stay in the country is not guaranteed and could be revoked if they are deemed a threat to national interests. Meanwhile, the detention this year of Mahmoud Khalil, a lawful permanent resident and activist, sparked outrage among immigrant advocates. The administration justified the detention under a statute that allows deportation based on potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences. What to know? Gentile, a father of two, was stopped by officials in February after returning from a trip abroad and landing at Los Angeles International Airport. DHS officials confiscated his green card and Argentine passport and directed him to report to a Customs and Border Protection office in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he lives. Officials there detained him and sent him to a local county jail. He was then transferred to Stewart Detention Center. Gentile was convicted in 2020 of infliction of injury and sentenced to 3 years probation, according to court records seen by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The case was closed in 2023. He moved with his family from Argentina to the U.S. in the 1990s as a toddler. I have no idea why Latino MAGA is a thing. Just like I don't understand why Black MAGA is a thing, why gay MAGA is a thing, why poor MAGA is a thing. But these people really thought that they were special. They thought that they were spicy mayo, that they were white adjacent. And now they're seeing that they are not special. But this is what they voted for. And now they get to stress out every day for their son and for their grandchildren getting their father back, because this is what they voted for. FAFO for them. And I have another story. Now we're about to talk about Trump tariffs and how they're about to tear up some of these states, some of these cities. So this is an article from the Washington Post. It says Trump tariffs set off doubts. Even in Rust Belt area, he pledged to restore. It says many people in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, a major Rust Belt manufacturing hub in an election deciding swing state, are skeptical that the president can deliver. Now, Lehigh Valley, I do remember that city name. I think, Mack Truck. That is where Mack Truck is, and Mack Truck was laying off people or will be laying off people soon because of the tariffs and everything. So let's look at this article. All right, let's do the article. It says 1 month into a sweeping new tariff regime that Trump vowed would bring jobs and factories roaring back, a Pennsylvania manufacturing hub is full of skepticism. Trump once told supporters here in the Lehigh Valley that they know better than almost any place in this country how global trade has outsourced your industries and wiped out your steel mills. Now, even in one of the communities the president suggested would benefit most from his tariffs, his economic overhaul is disrupting lives and testing some voters' patience in an election-deciding swing state. New hires at a local truck-making plant had just started on the shop floor last month when their company announced an abrupt change. Layoffs that could hit more than 10% of the workforce and that the company blamed on tariffs and other economic uncertainty. Even Trump fans sometimes grimace at his plans to remake the world economy, worried about higher costs in a politically competitive area, still scattered with lawn signs that read, Trump low prices, Kamala high prices. Okay. Almost 2/3 of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of tariffs, and a lasting backlash could be especially consequential for Republicans in areas such as the Lehigh Valley, a perennial Rust Belt battleground where Trump's campaign pitch resonated with many voters. Trump's tariffs have put pressure on some of the GOP's most vulnerable incumbents in Congress, including the local congressman, freshman Ryan McKenzie, as they try to defend Trump's agenda while also acknowledging their constituents' concerns. Officials here are doubtful that any tariffs, no matter how drastic, can recreate the economy of the past, when one steel company's facility in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania alone employed 30,000 people. Manufacturing is still the biggest industry in the Lehigh Valley, with investment booming in recent years. At the same time, leaders are proud that they managed to diversify their economy after Bethlehem Steel collapsed decades ago. Brian Higgins, a longtime Republican commissioner in Lower Macungie Township, just north of the truck plant, said, "It's hard to imagine manufacturing rebounding to where it was decades ago. I don't think anybody thinks that you can bring back the Lehigh Valley back to what it was. Could we bring some manufacturing back there? Probably, but not to the extent that people believe. I just think it's going to cost more money, and then it's going to hurt us with retaliatory tariffs," said Higgins, a self-described Reagan Republican who could not bring himself to vote for Trump. Trump argues that levying tariffs on imports will give him leverage for trade deals and ultimately compel companies to ramp up production in the U.S. Critics say the strategy will raise costs for consumers and destabilize the economy while leaving businesses too uncertain about the future to make plans. The Trump administration's policies are delivering much-needed economic relief for everyday Americans while laying the groundwork for a long-term restoration of American greatness, White House spokesman Kush Desai said in a statement, noting that inflation cooled in March and that gross private domestic investment has increased by 22% in the first quarter of 2025. Employers added 177,000 jobs last month, a strong showing despite the upheaval from Trump's tariffs announced April 2nd. In interviews, Lehigh Valley voters who had heard about the Mac layoffs often brushed them off as routine. The company has downsized before, or they said they weren't sure they believed the firm's explanation. I do want to remind us all that a lot of these companies invested heavily before the tariffs so that they could get inventory before the tariffs hit so that they wouldn't have to pay those additional costs. So I'm just putting that out there. But many, including Trump voters, also said they are bracing for economic pain in the Valley, which spans two counties, Lehigh, which Democrat Kamala Harris won by less than 3 points last fall, and Northampton, a bellwether that frequently backs the winners of the presidential elections and went narrowly for Trump. Adrienne Reinheimer, 51, says she's building a house and might push back her timeline if prices get too high. Retiree Rick Janko was mostly supportive of the president's agenda, but rolled his eyes at claims that tariffs will bring manufacturing back. Like Reinheimer, he cast his ballot for Trump last year. "How much are you going to pay for something?" Janko asked. "Let's be honest. Anything bought in America is always more expensive." The people that voted for him, despite the fact that he talked about tariffs, I really hope that they just keep on believing and don't brace for anything and just think that it's just all they got to do is ride it out. I wish the best for them. No, I don't. That's a lie. I hope that they get it worse and first. And I hope that they just keep on believing and that they don't take any kind of mechanisms to brace or secure their lives or anything. Just believe. Anyways, join the conversation. This article is long, but I'm going to end it here. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
So let's talk about the story that is shaking up the immigration debate. A green card holder from Argentina legally living in United States now sitting in ICE detention at Stewart Detention Center in South Georgia. And the headline making it go viral: his parents voted for Trump. Now their son is the one being detained by the very system they believed in. So let's unpack this. This isn't just about a political headline or some internet outrage moment. This is real. A young man, legal status, green card in hand, is now behind bars in one of the most criticized ICE detention centers in the country. His family, who supported Trump and believe in stricter immigration enforcement, now find themselves trapped in the consequences of those same policy. The man in question is from Argentina. He came to the US legally and, like many immigrants, worked hard, built a life, and stayed within the bounds of the law. But recently, he was pulled over for a minor traffic violation. That is right, a simple stop, and that led to ICE getting involved. Now, if you're not familiar with how the system works, let's give you a brief breakdown. Under current ICE enforcement protocols, even legal immigrants, green card holders, can be detained if there is any potential issue with their immigration record or if they are flagged for any reason during an interaction with law enforcement. Even a minor mistake or A misunderstanding can trigger a review, and once ICE steps in, it often leads to detention while the person's status is re-evaluated. That is what happened here. This young man, despite his legal status, was flagged and sent to Stewart Detention Center, and let me be clear about Stewart. It's one of the most notorious detention centers in the United States. Reports over the years have highlighted poor medical care, lack of transparency, and even multiple deaths. It's not a place anyone would want to be. So imagine the ironing, the heartbreak for his parents. They believed they were voting for law, order, and a more secured America, but now they are seeing that same system treats their son like a criminal. And this brings us to the deeper issue, the unintended consequences of blanket immigration enforcement. Policy don't always discriminate between who is undocumented and who is here legally. Enforcement is aggressive, often fluid, and bureaucratic mistakes are common. And when system learns on heavy-handed tactics, stories like this are no longer rare. They are increasingly common. Now let's zoom out for a second. There is the common misconception in the immigration debate that it's always a matter of legal versus illegal. That if do everything right, come in with papers, stay out of trouble, you are safe. But that is not the reality. The system is complex and enforcement doesn't always operate with fairness or even basic due process. ICE detention centers, especially places like Stewart, have become holding grounds for thousands of people, many of them not criminals but individuals caught in red tape, procedural errors, or simply lacking the resources to defend themselves quickly. And here's another thing, being a green card holder doesn't make you immune to deportation. There are categories of offenses and bureaucratic triggers that can lead to detention and even remove. Most Americans don't know that. And unfortunately, many immigrants and their families don't know that either until it's too late. This story specifically is hitting a nerve because of the political dimension. The fact that the parents were vocal Trump supporters adds a very personal layer of irony. But let's be clear, this isn't about pointing fingers or mocking someone. Political choices. It's about confronting the reality that policy have consequences, and sometimes those consequences hit home in the most painful way. We have to stop thinking of immigration as this black and white issue. It's not just about building a wall or letting everyone in. It's about how we treat people, especially those who are here legally, who are contributing, who are trying to follow the rules. Let me ask you something. If this young man had been white and born in the US, would he be in Stewart right now over a traffic stop? Probably not. And that is the uncomfortable truth. Immigration enforcement in this country is often racial. The system disproportionately affects people of color, and when it gets it wrong, there is often very little accountability. What makes this case even more tragic is that the family is now realizing the system they trusted may not have been built to protect them. That is not an easy truth to swallow, but maybe, just maybe, it will start a larger conversation, one that includes people from all political backgrounds. Because at the end of the day, this shouldn't be about right versus left. It should be about human dignity, about fair treatment, about making sure that legal resident hasn't swept up and locked away without clear evidence or due process. And let's talk briefly about Stewart Detention Center itself. It's operated by a private prison company called Civic. That means every day a person is detained, there is someone profits. That raises massive ethical questions because when profit is involved, the incentive isn't necessary justice, it keeps beds full, and that often leads to longer detention, harsher conditions, and less scrutiny. So now this family, who once believed immigration enforcement was about protecting America, is watching their son suffer in a system that doesn't seem to care whether he followed the rules or not. It's heartbreaking and it's infuriating, but it also serves as a wake-up call, a reminder that the immigration system is America is deeply fluid, and that fixing it isn't just about border security, it's about compassion, common sense, and accountability. So the question we all need to ask, what kind of country do we want to be? One that locks up legal residents over paperwork or profiling, or one that lives up to its values, fairness, justice, and opportunity for all? Because if someone with a green card, a clear record, and a future can end up in ICE custody, none of us are safe from government overreach as we think. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, or if you think more people need to hear it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation going. and let's push for a system that truly reflects the best of what this country can be. I'm out. Stay informed. Peace out.